Let me offer prayers. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur-unmilitan yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurur Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Syam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Runda Vaneshwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Namo Mishtapadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to Bhagavatam class. Today I'm reading from Canto 3, chapter number 24, verse 43. Mano Brahmani Yunjano Yatsad Dasad Param Gunava Bhase Viguna Eka Bhaktyanu Mano Brahmani Yunjano Yattat Sadasatparam Gunava Bhase Viguna Eka Bhaktyanu One more time. Mano Brahmani Yunjano Yattat Sadasatparam Gunava Bhase Viguna Eka Bhaktyanu Okay, synonyms. Mana, mind, Brahmani, on the Supreme, Injanaha, fixing, Yat, which, Tat, that, Sat, Asat, cause and effect, Param, beyond, Gunava, Bhase, who manifests the three modes of material nature, Vigune, who is beyond the material modes, Eka Bhaktya, by exclusive devotion, Anubhavite, who is perceived. Translation: He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Parabrahman, who is beyond cause and effect, who manifests the three modes of material nature, who is beyond those three modes, and who is perceived only through unfailing devotional service. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So whenever there is bhakti, there must be three things present: the devotee, the devotion, and the Lord. Without these three, Bhakta, Bhakti, and Bhagavan, there is no meaning to the word Bhakti. Kardama Muni fixed his mind on the Supreme Brahman and realized him through Bhakti or devotional service. This indicates that he fixed his mind on the personal feature of the Lord because Bhakti cannot be executed unless one has realization of the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. Gunava Bhase. He is beyond the three modes of material nature, but it is due to him that the three modes of material nature are manifested. In other words, although the material energy is an emanation of the Supreme Lord, he is not affected, as we are by the modes of material nature. We are conditioned souls, but he is not affected, although the material nature has emanated from him. He is the supreme living entity and is never affected by Maya. But we are subordinates, minute living entities, prone to be affected by the limitations of Maya. If he is in constant contact with the Supreme Lord by devotional service, the conditioned living entity also becomes freed from the infection of Maya. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Sagunan samatitaitan. A person engaged in Krishna consciousness is at once liberated from the influence of the three modes of material nature. In other words, once the conditioned soul engages himself in the devotional service, he also becomes liberated like the Lord. Let me read the last line again. A person engaged in Krishna consciousness is at once liberated from the influence of the three modes of material nature. In other words, once the conditioned soul engages himself in the devotional service, he also becomes liberated like the Lord. Okay. This chapter is entitled the renunciation of Kardama Muni. This chapter explains how Kardama Muni renounced his household life, how he took sannyas, and how he realized Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even though he was the greatest a mystic yogi. I mean, we saw in earlier chapter that when he made a flying city with his mystic power, right? So even though he is the greatest mystic yogi, he was also one of the greatest devotee. Um, this chapter explains how he, absorbed his mind in the devotional service, and what was his, present. I mean, where was his consciousness, and how he completely transcended the material modes of nature, and how he became transcendental. So, essence of this verse is that Lord is perceived only through devotional service. So, this verse says, Mano Brahmani Yunjano. Mano means mind. Brahmani means on the supreme. Yunjano is fixing. So, in the translation, it is said, he fixed his mind upon the supreme personality of Godhead. So, here, Brahmani is translated as Supreme Personality of Godhead, right? Somebody may say that Brahmani means impersonal Brahman. He fixed his mind on impersonal Brahman. So this verse itself is saying that it is not impersonal Brahman, but he fixed his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I mean, it says Yat Sat Sad Asat Param, meaning he fixed his mind on one who is beyond three, cause and effect. And Gunavabhase. Gunavabhase means he fixed his mind on one who manifests the three modes of material nature. Even though if he is manifesting three modes of material nature, but still he is not affected by that. That's why it's also said Viguna. Viguna means who is beyond the material modes. But how can we perceive him? Eka bhaktya anubhavite. So we can perceive him only through exclusive devotion, right? So if you still say that Brahman is impersonal Brahman, how can you? I mean, the last line may not hold so good, because how can you do bhakti to impersonal Brahman? Because when there is no form, how can you execute loving service, right? That's why Prabhupada starts purport by saying, whenever there is bhakti, there must be three things present: the devotee, the devotion, and the Lord. Without these three, bhakta, bhakti, and Bhagavan, there is no meaning to the word bhakti, right? So, essential element to execute bhakti, there has to be three things, right? Devotee, one who is performing the loving service, and the object, or beloved. Beloved is Bhagavan here. So bhakta is actually executing bhakti. Bhakti is the media to I mean, is the relationship between the bhakta and Bhagavan. So that's why these three elements should be there to perform bhakti. So that's why, Prabhupada is saying, if there is no bhakta and bhakti and Bhagavan, then there is no meaning to the word bhakti. So next, Prabhupada is saying that Kardama Muni fixed his mind on the Supreme Brahman and realized him through bhakti or devotional service. This indicates that he fixed his mind on the personal feature of Lord. So Kardama Muni fixed his mind. I was thinking about in the first chapter of first canto, Shaunaka Rishi is asking 6 questions to Suta Muni, right? One of them is Pumsham Ekantas Shreyas Tannaha Samsitam Varhasi, meaning Pumsha means people in general. Ekanta Shreyas means he's asking what is the ultimate, what is the absolute and ultimate good for people in general. So that was the question Shaunaka Muni is asking. So then in the next chapter 2nd, he is asking, Suta Goswami is explaining that Savai Pumcham Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje, meaning the ultimate dharma for human being to perform is the bhakti. So all the human beings should perform dharma. The ultimate dharma for the human being is executing bhakti on adokshaje. What is the meaning of adokshaje? Ado means lower, or it can be beyond also. Aksha means eyes. J means immeasurable, or one who has transcended. So the meaning of adokshaja is one who is beyond the perception of material senses. Then people may come up with different definition to fit in somebody in adokshaja. So very next to us, Sutta Goswami is saying that Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. So bhakti should be done on Vasudeve Bhagavati. So here adokshaja means Vasudeve Bhagavati, right? So we should apply, prayojita means apply. We should apply bhakti on to Vasudeva Bhagavati, to Krishna, right? So here also in this verse, it is saying that Kardama Muni fixed his mind on the Supreme Brahman, meaning basically he's applied his mind on Vasudeva Bhagavati. So it's exactly fits into what Sutta Goswami is saying. So he's doing devotional service, and then Prabhupada is saying that bhakti cannot be executed. Where is that? Okay. Bhakti cannot be executed unless one has the realization of personal feature of absolute truth. Basically, Bhagavatam says there are 3 levels of God realization. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti Sabhyate, right? Brahmeti meaning that is the first level of understanding. This talks about all pervasiveness of the Lord, meaning the Lord is there everywhere. That is Brahman position. And Paramatma means the localized aspect of Bhagavan, that is, he is there in my heart as Paramatma. And Bhagavan means, yes, Lord is there everywhere, but he is also there in my heart. And also he has his own identity. He has his own abode. So understanding that he has a separate identity is the third level of understanding. That is the third level of God realization, that is Bhagavan realization. So, one who has that realization, only he can do bhakti, because you need to know the personal form to execute the loving service, right? That's why Prabhupada here is saying that bhakti cannot be executed unless one has realization of personal feature of absolute truth. And then he goes on. Sorry, one more point is in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, "Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru." So here also Krishna is saying how to do bhakti. Man mana means, always think of me in your mind. Bhava mad bhakto, you become my devotee. And madhyaji, you worship me. Mam namaskuru, pay obeisances to me. So he's all these things, loving service that we can do to Krishna, right? So then he says, Mam evaishasi satyam te. So definitely you will come to me. Prati jane priyosame. And he is also saying, I promise you this because you are my very dear friend, right? So that is the way of executing bhakti. Then Prabhupada goes on saying, Gunava Bhase defines what is Gunava Bhase. Gunava Bhase is, he is beyond the three modes of material nature, but it is due to him that the three modes of material nature are manifested. Um, in Bhagavad Gita also it is said, Maya Dakshena Pragati Suyate Sacharacharam. This material nature is actually, it is one of my energy and is working through, my direction. So when Maya is working under his direction, how can he be under the three modes of material nature? So that's why he is above all the three modes of material nature. And Prabhupada also says, um, in other words, although the material energy is an emanation of the Supreme Lord, he is not affected as we are by the modes of material nature. In Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, he also says, Echaiva satvika bhava rajasas tamasaste matta eveti tan vidhi natva ham teshu temai. Meaning, all these three modes, satvika bhava, rajasa bhava, and tamasa bhava, meaning mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance, they are all coming from me. Matta eveti means it is coming from me. And he is telling Arjuna that, you try to understand that all these three modes are coming from me. And also he's saying, Natvaham, I am not in them. Natvaham means I am not in them. Teshu temai, but they are in me. So that means here also Krishna explicitly saying that these three modes of material nature, I'm not under them, but they are in me. And also in Bhagavatam, third chapter, third verse also says, यस्या वयव संस्थानैः कल्पितो लोकविस्तरः तद्वै भगवतो रूपं विशुद्धं सत्वं ऊर्जितं. Meaning, yasya avayava samsthanai, meaning loka, this entire material universe is within his body, right? But Bhagavato Rupam, that Bhagavan is still Vishuddham, he is still pure because he is not contaminated with three modes of material nature. That's why he is still Vishuddham. And Sattva, meaning he is spiritual still, right? So this verse is saying that even though all the three modes are coming from him, he is not under that. So he is still Vishuddham and Sattvam. He is still pure and spiritual. So then Prabhupada is saying that he is a supreme living entity and is never affected by Maya. But we are subordinate, minute living entity prone to be affected by limitations of Maya. So here again, Bhagavad Gita says, Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. Here also he is saying that I am not under Maya. Maya is material nature, which is one of my energy, and it is working under my direction, right? And then if he is, I mean, then, okay, now we understood the three modes of material nature, and all the living entities are under three modes of material nature. Next, the next question is how we can overcome from these three modes of material nature. That's what Prabhupada is saying, that if he is in constant contact with the Supreme Lord by devotional service, the conditioned living entity also becomes freed from the infection of Maya. So, I think there is one verse. Okay, in the purport only it says Bhagavad Gita Sagunam Samati Kaitan. So it is actually 14.26. Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati kaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So avyabhicharena means without failing. If you do bhakti yoga all the time, if you do bhakti yoga, then that person, sa means he, gunan samati kaitan, he can transcend the three modes of material nature. Then once he transcends three modes of material nature, what happens is Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. He situates himself in the Brahma Bhuyaya position, meaning he elevates himself to Brahman platform. That is where, he will not, his his self will feel satisfied. So the same thing you said in the first canto, first chapter also, here Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yaduhaitukam. Um, um, so, sorry, not this one. Okay, here, this one. Savai pumsham paro dharma yato bhakti radokshije ahaituki apratiyata yayatma supravyupati. So one who, one who does bhakti to Adokshija. Adokshija means Vasudeva Bhagavati, to Krishna. Once we do bhakti to Krishna, yayatma suprasidati. So the Atma becomes self-satisfied. So here also it is saying the same thing as this Bhagavad Gita 14.26 is saying, Sargunan Samatitaitan Brahma Bhoyaya Kalpate. So basically, by doing devotional service, we can overcome from these three modes of material nature. And at the end, Prabhupada is saying, in other words, once the conditioned soul engages himself in the devotional service, he also becomes liberated like the Lord. So, Prabhupada, somewhere he says, if one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. So he also gives an analogy, like a personal assistant of a king, he has to, he has to acquire qualification to be with king, and also he should be in the palace to serve the king, right? Even though he is a poor person, he is still living in the palace to serve the king. So that's why uh, Krishna is in he is in transcendental position. By being in material position, we cannot serve him. Even we need to be in transcendental position to execute the bhakti yoga, right? So for that we need to get the qualification. That is only through um, bhakti, by executing the devotional service. Actually, there is Vedic literature also says Brahmaiva san Brahmai piyati, meaning to become Supreme Brahman. I mean, to attain the Supreme Brahman, you have to be Brahman. So in the same way, that means you must qualitatively becomes one with Krishna to be with Krishna. That is possible only through bhakti, so only through devotional service. So the essence of this verse is, bhakti liberates the soul from the material influence, and is possible when one serves and connects with the Lord through personal loving service. So it has given high importance to Bhakti Yoga to connect to the Lord. So that's all I had for today. If you have any comments or sharing, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you so much. I mean, I know you gave a lot of references regarding the bhakti, right? I mean, because I think the word Brahman is used in the verse. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, it can be Parabrahman, I mean, right? So that's how Prabhupada is uh, translated. And also the bhakti, I mean, at the end of the verse, it talks about it,
Yes.
right? So I think that's when he refers to the Supreme Lord. So, yeah, thank you, Prabhu, I think, for all those putting nicely together.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anything else? Anybody wants to comment? Okay, if nothing is there, we can conclude here. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय।